All right, let's jump right into it. Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we are unpacking what has to be one of Hollywood's most dramatic, unbelievable real-life stories. We're talking incredible highs, absolutely devastating lows, and a comeback that is just, well, it's legendary. It's a story that proves it is literally never too late to rewrite your own script. We are looking at the life, the career, and the undeniable redemption arc of Robert Downey Jr. To really wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this comeback, we need to establish just how far he fell. The contrast here is wild. Think about this. In 2001, the guy was at rock bottom. He was homeless. Film studios considered him completely uninsurable, and he'd just been fired from a massive hit TV show. Fast forward just a little over a decade. From 2013 to 2015, he was the highest paid actor in the entire world. So how do you traverse that massive of a gulf? Well, we gotta go back to the beginning.
Part 1. Prodigy with toxic roots. Let's look at his early life.
It's actually fascinating when you look at the duality of his childhood. Downey was essentially born right into the industry. He made his acting debut when he was just 5 years old in an absurdist comedy called Pound, which was actually directed by his dad, Robert Downey Jr. But alongside that amazing early exposure to art, there was a really tragic early exposure to substance abuse. His father actually introduced him to marijuana when he was only 6 or 8 years old.
To really understand the weight of that, listen to how Downey himself explained it. He once said, "When my dad and I used drugs together, it was his way of showing love for me in the only manner he knew." That is just so profound, right? It shows how this toxic bond with his father really planted the seeds for his future struggles. In those formative years, substance abuse wasn't just some bad habit. It was deeply, deeply entangled with family connection and affection.
But man, despite that chaotic background, his raw talent, he just couldn't hide it. His early career took off fast. He started out playing misfits and bullies, having a huge breakout in that 1985 John Hughes classic, Weird Science. But he proved really quickly that he wasn't just another teen actor. He threw himself into these prestigious, transformative roles. I mean, his portrayal of Charlie Chaplin in 1992, absolutely stunning. It earned him a BAFTA and his first Academy Award nomination for Best Actor.
Actually, it was his 1987 role in Less Than Zero that ended up being kind of a dark crystal ball for his future. The legendary critic Roger Ebert talked about his performance as a drug-addicted rich boy, calling it so real, so subtle, and so observant that it's scary. Downey would later call that role the ghost of Christmas Future, admitting that his own real-life habit basically led him to become an exaggeration of that exact character.
And unfortunately, that dark future came true. Part 2. Spiraling into the abyss.
Looking back at this timeline, it is just a rapid, chaotic sequence of events that totally dominated the tabloids. Starting in '96, you've got a drug and weapons arrest on Sunset Boulevard. Then shortly after, the infamous Goldilocks incident where he wandered into a neighbor's house and literally fell asleep in a kid's bed. And that just kicked off this devastating cycle. Missed drug tests led to 6 months in LA County Jail in '97, and then a 3-year sentence to Corcoran State Prison in '99. Even after getting out early, the cycle just kept going with arrests in Palm Springs and Culver City by 2001. So what does a downward spiral like that actually cost you? The fallout was massive, compounding. And it wasn't just the jail time. Downey lost his Malibu home to financial ruin. He was fired from an NBC animated series, and maybe most famously, fired from the massive hit show Ally McBeal in 2001. And keep in mind, he had literally just won a Golden Globe for that performance, but the liability was just too high. By that point, facing bankruptcy, Hollywood basically stamped him completely uninsurable. It's a super stark reminder of how addiction can just dismantle everything.
But right when total, permanent ruin felt completely unavoidable, he pivoted. Part 3. Choosing to recover.
In 2001, Downey finally committed to long-term sobriety. And when he was talking to Oprah Winfrey a few years later, he kind of summed up that crucial mental shift. He told her, "It's not that difficult to overcome these seemingly ghastly problems. What's hard is to decide to do it." He finally made that definitive, line-in-the-sand choice to stop the half-hearted attempts and actually get help.
So how do you come back from being uninsurable? Well, baby steps. Really cautious ones. He couldn't just walk onto a huge blockbuster set. First step, he took a small gig lip-syncing in an Elton John music video in 2001. Then in 2003, his buddy Mel Gibson took a gigantic personal financial risk. He literally paid Downey's insurance bond himself so he could star in The Singing Detective. After that, producer Joe Silver hired him for Gothica, but he withheld 40% of his salary just until the movie wrapped, just to protect the studio. It was this painstaking process of rebuilding trust, showing just how crucial it is to have friends willing to give you a second chance.
And all that slow, careful rebuilding, it set the stage for something massive. Part 4, the Marvel Superstar.
Okay, the year is 2006, and Marvel Studios takes a humongous gamble. They cast him as Tony Stark in Iron Man, and the reason behind this casting is just fascinating. Director Jon Favreau fiercely advocated for Downey because he saw these intense real-life parallels between the actor's own journey of redemption and this wealthy, flawed, recovering superhero. Favreau just knew that Downey understood the DNA of a character like Stark on a deeply personal level.
And wow, did that gamble pay off? It completely rewrote Hollywood history. The commercial dominance we're looking at here is awe-inspiring. Iron Man brings in $585 million in 2008. By 2012, the Avengers absolutely explodes to $1.5 billion. And then, the culmination of that whole arc, 2019's Avengers Endgame practically defies gravity. It nearly touched $2.8 billion and temporarily became the highest-grossing film of all time. Just insane growth.
But to really put all this in perspective, $14.3 billion with a B. That is the worldwide gross of films featuring Robert Downey Jr. as a leading actor. It firmly cements his legacy as one of the highest-grossing actors in the history of cinema. I mean, talk about a 180-degree turn, from completely uninsurable to literal billions in a little over a decade.
So, you conquer the global box office. What's next? Part 5, Cementing a Legacy, Beyond the Iron Suit.
In 2023, he makes a super strategic, purely artistic decision. Instead of chasing his usual, $10 to $20 million upfront payday, he takes a massive pay cut, down to $4 million. And why? To play the antagonistic bureaucrat Louis Strauss in Christopher Nolan's epic Oppenheimer. It was this absolute masterclass in trading short-term cash for long-term artistic legacy. He even called it the best film he had ever appeared in.
And clearly, the industry agreed with him. He didn't just get good reviews for playing Strauss, the guy absolutely swept award season. We are talking the Golden Globe, the BAFTA, the Screen Actors Guild Award, the Critics' Choice Award, and finally, the big one, the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor, the ultimate critical redemption.
But if you thought he was going to just rest on those laurels, think again. He is rapidly expanding his artistic footprint everywhere. He won a Daytime Emmy for his lifestyle show, Downey Streamcars. He snagged a Primetime Emmy nomination for playing 5 completely distinct roles in HBO's The Sympathizer. Oh, and in late 2024, he makes his Broadway debut at the Lincoln Center in a play called McNeil.
And yet, the surprises were still not over. July 2024 hits, San Diego Comic-Con, and everyone's jaws just hit the floor when it was announced that his journey is coming full circle. He's officially returning to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the exact franchise that saved his career, but this time not as the hero. He's coming back to play the ultimate villain, Dr. Doom, in the upcoming Avengers films.
Which, honestly, leaves us with one incredibly thrilling question to ponder. With an Academy Award finally sitting on his mantle, successful jumps into TV and Broadway, and this massive, highly anticipated return to Marvel as Dr. Doom, has Robert Downey Jr. reached his absolute peak? Or is it possible that Hollywood's ultimate comeback kid still has his greatest act ahead of him? One thing's for sure, no matter how far you fall, you can always write a new ending. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and we'll catch you next time.